Okay, we'll move on to agenda item number 2, the council discussion and direction to staff regarding reactivating a water advisory committee. Since I put this on the agenda, I'm going to state the obvious. I would like to do that. Reactivate, send this back to staff with council approval and reactivate it. I'll have more to say after motions. Other questions from council? Then I'll go right to public comment.
Zone 41201, North Schoolhouse Road, Cave Creek. Mayor Francia, council members. I would like to start by encouraging you, and so you know where I'm coming from, to reactivate the Water Advisory Committee. The Water Advisory Committee are several. First, it really represents the users. You have I know all of you up there are users, but it does represent the people of the community who do not sit on town council. And it represents those people who are not residents of Cave Creek as well. Those who live in Desert Hills and those who live in Carefree that are on our water system. And it gives an independent input to the town staff. The input that you get from the users and the citizens with experience and background in finance and engineering and in utility backgrounds is beneficial for the town. And it's advisory. You make the final decision. Thank you.
My name's Rob Hamblin. I live at 1041 East Carleys Road over in Desert Hills. Since its inception, when the town council took over the Desert Hills system on May 7th, there was mandatory with the commission, or they asked, and there was agreement with the council that said that there would be an advisory committee that would go through it, and the commission news and stated that they submitted on May 7th says the commissioner's decision states that the Cave Creek officials have agreed to establish a Citizens Water Advisory Committee to review plans, policies, master plan, capital programs, rates, and fees. In addition to that, one of the commissioners, Kristen Mays, very concerned to make sure that the people had a voice. And the Water Advisory Commission is that voice.
Renee Kemp.
Thank you. A little bit of history about the Water Advisory Committee, created in 2007, and it worked pretty successful with the Utilities Department on various issues such as system improvements, water pressure improvements, and addressing those arsenic levels we received so many notices about a few years ago. But in September of 2011, the last minutes for that committee were in the town council record. The discussions were normal, very typical committee business. There was no discussion whatsoever of disbanding the committee. In fact, they set a date for their next meeting. It never happened. In March of 2012, the town council discussed several amendments to the town code. One of those was the removal of the Water Advisory Committee from the town code. And at that particular meeting, Jessica Marlowe stated she was there to answer any questions, but was requesting the council dissolve the advisory committee. Councilman Esser said something like, my impression was that the Water Advisory Committee was a permanent thing for the purpose of reviews, ongoing, etc. And then discussions continued. Marlowe responded that they're requesting there no longer be one. And it wasn't a requirement like a state statute. Anyway, Councilman Esser and Councilwoman Anderson both moved to retain the Water Advisory Committee, but were unable to get the votes. 2 weeks later, the next council meeting, the Water Advisory Committee is brought up again. Councilman McGuire said something like, did the committee make a recommendation with regard to the continuation of the committee as an important functioning body? Marlowe said, no, they did not. They did not have a meeting to discuss this. But she indicated she had spoken with each member prior to bringing it to the council for consideration. And the consensus was that the committee served its purpose and was no longer needed. Last March, the Water Advisory Committee was discarded. The people's voice disappeared. They didn't realize what would happen, and then they got the letter. Now, I have not received a letter, but I suppose since my address is in the minutes, if it's possible to get me one, I'll probably get one tomorrow. But I'm prepared for that. I'm not here today for myself because I did not get a letter. I'm here for everybody else that did get a letter, and I think it's just awful that some of those people actually responded by the intimidation factors of, oh, you're going to have your water shut off if you don't do this, and ran out and spent anywhere from $200 to $2,000 putting in one of these devices. And I disagree with the town manager who said it was a good investment. Because if I want a good investment, I'm gonna call my broker. I am not gonna go buy one of these things for the copper thieves to have a field day with. Because when we had arsenic, we got notices with every water bill. So we got 12 a year. And no one has received a notice that there is an amoeba in the water.
Hi, Barbara Middleton, 838 Miss Dolores Road in Desert Hills. As Renee had said, Ms. Marlowe stated that she had spoken with all the committee members and there was general consensus that the committee had served its purpose and was no longer needed. I have spoken with all of the committee members. None of them were aware of the disbandment until they were told that their services were no longer needed. Vice Chairman Paul Townsend, and I apologize, I believe some of them are in the audience, so they're definitely more than welcome to add. I'm just pulling in a little snippet from my conversations with them. Paul Townsend said, I received a call from Jessica and I was really caught off guard that the decision had been made. There had been no prior discussions about it. Evelyn Johnson, I never received any notification. Yvonne Spacito recalls receiving a letter, did not remember there being any prior discussion. Dick Bartholomew received a letter and called the town manager to discuss it, suggesting that they keep the committee in suspension until needed. The town manager had said, we decided there wasn't enough activity to keep the committee. Dick said he didn't know who we were because they, the committee, had never talked about it. He also said that he had an issue with the fact that the utility department was running a surplus. Instead of offering rate decrease, the profits were being moved to the general town fund. Now, I wasn't sure what he was talking about at the time. I later researched it and found out that in May of 2010, $1 million was moved from the utility fund to the general fund for debt service. 400,000 of that was from Desert Hills and 600,000 from Cave Creek. Brian Moore had no idea about the canceling the committee. He received a letter thanking him and advising him that his services were no longer needed. He commented that there certainly was not a lack of interest. There was not a lot going on at the time, but he would have thought it was good governance to continue the committee, though maybe less frequently. Bill Deckman. When a follow-up committee meeting was never scheduled, he called and talked to Doreen at the utility department and was told, we aren't going to do those anymore. He later received an email from Jessica that the advisory board was disbanded because they did not feel their services were needed any longer. Bill was adamant that it was not due to lack of interest. He said that he recalled only one time there not being enough people for a quorum. He also stated that there was no conversation about the disbandment of the committee, that he was never asked, he was told. Tonight we ask the council to right an unintended wrong by voting to reinstate the committee. I had two additional suggestions. Under the original code 52603, we would like to write it reviewed for change. Section B term states that each member will serve at the pleasure of the town manager. We ask that that be changed from town manager to town council. Under section C, selection process, it states the town manager, utilizing the resources of his or her office, shall nominate the members for final approval by mayor and council. In order for the committee to truly be independent and representative of the residents, we propose that the nominations come from the mayor, the council members, and not just the town manager. This is consistent with the Tucson committee process that was referred to by the Arizona Corporation Commission, where half the nominees are actually ward representatives. The mayor and council members are then given the task to choose one member from the ward representatives. The remaining are then nominated by their city manager, or their city manager subject to approval by the mayor and council.